Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Torchlight 2. So I've already covered Torchlight 1 on my channel, and I definitely remember playing Torchlight 1 on the Xbox 360 with controller support, but it is non-existent apparently both for Torchlight 1 and Torchlight 2 on PC and Steam, and that just seems like a weird oversight overall. I've also learned in the years since last covering Torchlight 1 that when you make statements like some of the team, or this is from the makers of Diablo or Diablo 1 or Diablo 2, it's never really the truth. It's usually there's a couple of people, maybe just one person from a much larger team that moved over. And in the case of Torchlight 2, it's even weirder in that my vague recollection is that the makers of Torchlight 2 are not in any way the same people that made Torchlight 1. Now, ironically, I could be playing Diablo 4 right now on Steam. I do believe that's on Steam now, years later. Things have changed since Activision Blizzard has since been acquired by Microsoft, but they've changed Diablo as a series quite a bit too, to the point where it kind of resets after seasons and is moving and evolving what those kinds of games are in a direction that honestly I just don't want to engage with. I don't want to play a game that has a season and then resets and then encourages me to play for another 70 hours with there being minimal story addition, if any story addition. So yeah, I don't think any of our save data carries over. I think much like many of these games, you just start over from the beginning. The Torchlight 1 game really was just Diablo if you put more of a cartoon, Diablo 1, Diablo 2 in particular, if you put more of a cartoony feel to it and you introduced the one game-saving, time-saving mechanic of having a pet that would carry your vendor trash and items back to the surface to sell things instead of just constantly having to use portals. So there's 4 different types, and what I want to be careful here is not to just end up using a gun character like I think I did in the first game, or a bow and arrow character, although ranged is probably going to be the effect that I go for. The introduction of guns is an interesting thing as far as Torchlight goes also, but it doesn't really change too much. It's just one new weapon and sets a different feeling. Generally speaking, as far as the theme goes, the cartoony atmosphere is not something that I appreciate better than the dark atmosphere that Diablo series has. So, an Ember Mage is trained in arcane arts. Ember Mage employ a variety of elemental spells to deadly effect. Okay, and it seems like it just started us with a random, with the female form. You can go male. It doesn't seem to me like there is a way to change your pet, though. Next would be a Berserker, brutal and swift. Berserkers call upon powerful beast magic to augment their deadly combat skills. Yep. So you're going a little lewd here with boob suspenders in the outfits. I'm not sure if the outfits are going to change throughout the game. They probably will, to some extent. Yeah, boob suspenders both for the male and the female versions. And it does seem like you get some randomization on the head. Although, in reality, you're going to be looking at the back of the head of your character more often than not. So a bunch of different facial features is not that helpful. A more modern version of this game would probably have higher polygon counts. And it does seem like in some way there's a way to change the skin tone of the characters, but I am not sure how you get that. It's connected to the face, apparently. So that's an odd option. Next we would have a class of engineer equipped with the ember-powered weapons and armor. Engineers keep the frontier in working order. It feels like this might be set a few years in the future of the past the events of the first game, but I can barely even remember the events of the first game. I'm not even really sure there's much of an in-credit or in-game experience. It does definitely feel like Torchlight could just go on forever. Then our last character is our Outlander. Veered in arcane arts and ancient pacts, Outlanders wield guns and magic with equal skill. And see, inherently, that is what I think I would prefer, is to go with a ranged attack. That is my default thought. So maybe we should fight against our default thought to some extent. Weapons and armors. So what are the equivalents here, I guess is the question to ask. This is just your archer stereotype with some magic being balanced into it. This is your heavy character, I think pretty obviously, so it's probably going to be fairly slow. And then this would be obviously just your mage character, that they're being very obvious about that one. And this would be your berserker, which is not too different from a heavy, other than this character class is going to be low focus on armor, where this character class is going to be high focus on armor, which actually doesn't make too much sense, because I think this game is going to be somewhat heavy as far as armor goes. So I'm going to have to say no to the boob windows and go with the engineer, I think is our move. And then face. You run into this real problem where the dark-skinned characters' faces might be more angry looking than the light-skinned characters' faces. Although this may very well, it's kind of hard to tell even. I'm looking at my TV from 10 feet away, 8 feet away, and so it's kind of hard to see any detail. You're not really zooming the camera up to show it. But it might be the case that it's just three of the same faces as far as eye layout and expression that are repeated based on skin tone. Yeah, and so I guess we'll go with that one. And then hair. Then the character's just not, like, you can't drag hair. You can't right click, can't middle click, can't scroll up or down to change it. So it's just whatever you think. And then hair color. Want to go bright white or bright red? Let's go bright white. And so yeah, there's our character creator. When I got into Borderlands 2 and it presented a whole new group of characters and you just can play as the characters in Borderlands 1, that was something that I found somewhat disappointing, that you couldn't just continue playing who you'd played in the first game. In this case, I don't feel that, though. I feel like, in my vague recollection, I probably had a fulfilling experience with the characters of the first game, and it would just be more of the same if I was given the opportunity to play as the same character styles or even the same characters from the first game. And that is pretty typical for these types of games when you get a full number sequel that you're forced into starting over. But this game already has a chance of high repetition, so it can, in modern times, in 2024, which is when I'm recording this, it can start to feel like it's a little bit disrespectful of the player's time when you have games that are so incredibly repetitive. And so we'll see if we get to that point in this game or not. Okay. So now we could randomize the pet name. And I think it's pretty much a case that all of the characters do the same thing. So it's really going to be, I think, just down to personal preference. Now, a clear change has happened here in that there was barely cats and dogs in the first game, and now we have several different animals, although some of the animals have different appearances while some do not. This also kind of feels like this could be some DLC stuff that may have just been added, or update stuff. And I imagine that a flying version of a pet does nothing different. And this is a head crab from the Half-Life universe, so that almost certainly is something extra. It probably was not there day one. It's not crazy, though, that they would go deeper on the pet aspect, because that is effectively the one sales pitch that you've got here. Maxwell, that looks like a Maxwell, is that you have a pet companion. Well, first of all, I'm not going to play hardcore mode. Second of all, with modern concerns of not spending too much time, and almost certainly I'm going to play this game in a kind of weird way in which I might take several days, even like a week or two of break between gameplay. So this is a game I'm hoping I can just step away from and come back to. I also suspect that we may find that these are important characters. So definitely not playing hardcore mode. And I think casual is definitely just the case to go for. Now, veterans description here would say I should play this. It's for players familiar with Torchlight. If the challenge becomes too difficult, you may need to take extra time to improve your character's abilities to progress. But no, I'm gonna go with casual. I'm gonna go single player. Maybe the first game didn't have internet or local area network multiplayer. And yes, this is a 2012 game, and it's crazy to have local area network functions so prominent in games. Most games these days do not have LAN connections at all as an option, although many games probably should have that. So we're probably going to get a cutscene and a little tutorialization. That would be my guess. And then it'll be probably a long time before you see another cutscene.
Deep beneath Torchlight, a darkness gathered. 3 heroes confronted the beast called Ordrak.
Yeah, those would be the 3 heroes of the first game.
Even in death, Ordrak's corrupted heart endured and called out.
I was not expecting that kind of animation. So the village at the top of the cave in the first game was very much a medieval style village. And Ordrock here is our Diablo equivalent, not anywhere as interesting of a character. Yeah, this is way more cinematic than I was expecting. Running the danger of when we actually get into the gameplay, having the player realize that the gameplay itself is going to be much more low-key than this. There might be an interesting twist on these ever-expanding lower-level Diablo-like games where you could have a bad guy slowly working his way up to the surface, and the faster you play, the weaker he is in the lower level he is at.
Heroes may fall,
but these games
hope
tend not to really
fade,
encourage
but
speedrunning.
new heroes will arise.
So yeah, canonically, the story is saying that the heroes of the first game failed. And I don't remember the game ending that way at all. I definitely get the feeling I'm going to end up having to use my keyboard a lot more than just clicking with the mouse. That's one of the things about Diablo that I think made it more approachable, is that you had minimal keyboard inputs that you needed. Whereas here, there's all 10 of the number row set up for hotkeys by default. Game charge. Let's see if charges are available. Certain skills like Flaming Hammer will consume charge. There's Flaming Hammer. And I would assume that this is possibly just a basic attack. So this is probably your left mouse button, this is probably your right mouse button when you're clicking on something. You have your health here and your mana here. Inherently, I find it kind of weird that the menu is all set that way. Nice little zoom in there. I kind of still would prefer everything to stay in the middle of the screen, and maybe that's a mistake on my part. There are a decent amount of let's see, this is I put the UI scale up to 100% for easier reading, but center UI globe causes health and mana globes to be placed next to the hotbar instead of the corners of the screen. So well, I just turned that off. Only below 100% scale. Does that actually work? So yeah, here's your option that I would suspect would be the better way to do it, but I'm gonna stick with my first thought of having the scale at 100%. I do think this screen might be a little bit weird because it kind of feels like it is going to the pixel here and here. In the corners, when a little bit more of a safer range, 4 or 5 pixels, maybe just 2 or 3 pixels of black bar on the edge might be helpful. We've got our pet panel. I was never able to in the first game get the pet to be fully independent and strong enough. We've got our own panel with fame, strength, dexterity, focus, and vitality. Then we have some arcane statistics that I think would be probably affected mostly by the equipment and gems. There's a lot here, certainly. Pet to be aggressive, pet to be defensive, pet to be passive. It's controlled here. We have quests here. We've probably got a whole new set of skills, although it doesn't seem like there's too many of them. And then we've got our inventory, which seems to be about the same as it has been in the past. So it's a lot of managing equipment and such. And click on this guy and talk to him, so let's talk to him.
Glad you made it.
So you're going to get a basic dialogue and then have to read the rest. The big guy's the destroyer, isn't he? Commander Vale will be glad to see him. They used to run together back in the day. She told me once. She, the destroyer, and their buddy, the alchemist, rescued Torchlight from some kind of dragon. This is destroyer. So, let's talk to the medic.
Are you injured?
But you're lucky to make it back this far, seeing how badly wounded the destroyer is. But I think you're on your own now. From here to the Enclave, the destroyer can barely stand, let alone fight through all the Stormborn in the past.
I think this is as far as I can go. You should carry on to the Asterian Enclave, but you're on your own. Warn them that the alchemist destroyed Torchlight and is headed their way. He may be there already.
So the alchemist was who they were fighting, I guess. And interesting, there's equipment here, but I don't think we can just take it. You can see it equipped on him, which probably won't mean much. And funnily, because it's a pop-up window that hovers, I can't get to that sell button, even if I wanted to. Oh, actually, this was probably a quest and not showing me what he has equipped, come to think of it. That makes a lot more sense. These are the rewards you might get for doing the quest, and all you can do is accept the quest.
You have a new quest.
Can't go in the building. Might as well look around.
Glad you made it.
I don't think I'm going to bother to read out loud things. We'll see if
State your
any of
business.
this actually leads to anything.
You just get here?
Yeah. Act 1, Wake of the Alchemist. So yeah.
What's your business here?
Stormborn seem to be the bad guys. There's a whole bunch of dead bodies. And then this whole layout of the land looks different from what the game looked like originally. So my hope here. Got all of them in one. Is that I can go both directions. And not just end up having to double back. And immediately I can realize I need to have a level of commitment with whatever direction I'm going to go. Actually, this is probably the wrong direction to be going. I feel like in the first game, maybe this is going to get repaired and become a shortcut later. That might be the case. I feel like in the first game though there was more things that you could hit and smash, that there were crates. Maybe they've wisely decided to reduce the number of items that you can randomly smash, because that was a lot of extra clicking. These games led in part, I think, to the rise of MOBAs and the ideas of actions per minute.
You have become more experienced.
And as such, you just have a lot of clicking that just evolves even more. Gain the level, click on the level up button on the left on your screen to use your newfound wisdom. Okay. So we're a powerhouse to start with. Focus and magical damage is probably not what we want. HP and total armor and a chance to block with shields. If I go up one, I'm not sure this is going to increase anything. You have quite a few points there you can put into it. So for a lack of a better knowledge, I think the move probably is to just put everything up higher. And then what's the accept button? Just closing the panel? Yes, it is. Once you close that panel, it just automatically accepts that. Okay. One hit kills on very easy mode at the very beginning. Not something that I really am feeling is too terrible, although I will say I would have expected to have to click 2 or 3 times, even on easy. But there is a whole point to this where it might very well be a case where keeping it easy, the game can push larger enemies at us quicker. So I think in 20 seconds of skill points to use the right click attack again. There was a rock. Nothing under it. So that was closer to 2 clicks there. I guess the question is, can we get the map to be full screen? Doesn't seem like we really can. Can't go into that cave. There's a danger as these become much more visual areas compared to like Diablo 1, where there really is just a complete top-down perspective in Diablo 1. Please help me.
You a new recruit?
So we select a weapon here. Cannon. This is two-handed. This is, I guess, one-handed. Let's take that. It gives me some fame. There are some brightness issues I can already feel that are going to be things I want to adjust once we start getting further down the road. I suppose there's a chance here that enemies might just pour out of holes permanently.
Glad you made it.
There does seem to be some auto pickup here. These are very much things that I imagine were still in Torchlight 1. So there we have a purple level character. We discovered a socketable item very early. Socketable items imbue weapons and armor with new magical properties when inserted. If you discovered an item with sockets, simply install a gemstone by dropping it into it. I think that is a big element, certainly. And again, I guess we'll go 2 here, 1 here, 1 here. And then strength being stronger. Probably fine. But let's go over here to our skills. So we can have a shield bash feature, or we can have adding some shield armor value directly to your melee attack as physical attacks. 20% of your shield armor would be added to melee attacks. We could also deploy a healing bot. Interesting. Armor improvement. Or we could make Flame Hammer do something more. Faster and a chance to stun foe. Let's go with that one first. Let's go with that. I guess that was the 2 level ups that we've done so far. So it's fewer skills, but more levels to the skills. So more playing around with numbers. There is an argument that maybe I would like the game to be a little bit more zoomed in, and the middle mouse button does do that. You can go all the way here, which would be an insane level of zoom to play the game, to all the way here, which is a little too zoomed out, particularly since most of these enemies, they obviously are only going to be able to attack you from fairly close range. And even if they are attacking you from further distance, you just run towards the thing attacking you. And that would solve that. Seems like we were able to blow up the torch.
You just get here? You a new recruit? You a new recruit? You a new recruit? Glad you made it.
Can't smash these though. And I cannot go up here. Which definitely feels like you should be able to go up there.
You
So
just get here?
that's our first quest. Is to enter the Sisterian Enclave, which does look very different from the Torchlight city. Now, it'd be weird if Torchlight 2 never actually involves you going to Torchlight, but maybe that's what's going to happen for a
State
while.
your business. Glad you made it.
So we have kind of a peaceful area with not too much really going on. And people to
I
talk
thank
to.
you for your warning, but it has arrived too late. This alchemist has already come and gone, and it was all I could do to prevent him from entering the Enclave. As it was, many Astharians were injured, and since the confrontation, several more have become ill. We are not sure what is causing it. After his assault failed here, the alchemist carried on southward toward the temple steps. Commander Vale and her vanquishers arrived a short while later and pursued him, hoping to prevent further damage.
So cannon or hammer? Clearly the most expensive one is the one you should take, even if you're not going to use any of them. We'll take the most
Commander
expensive one.
Vale believes that the alchemist might attack the wellspring
All the quest
temple
givers seem to
in
be
an
fully
attempt to
voiced,
reach the Guardian of Water.
at least so far.
What nefarious purpose I am afraid to speculate. There has been no word from either Vale or the Guardian. Scout the wellspring temple and determine if the Guardian of Water is in any danger.
Now I don't like that there's just a background sound effect that's looping. Here you've got the running water, but also you hear the occasional pounding sound effect.
You have received a quest.
Waypoint activated. One thing I guess Torchlight also introduced was the idea of multiple portals, waypoints as such, designed to make the game a little bit easier to jump to different locations and do more than one thing in a row. Diablo 1 in particular, it's kind of linear. You start at the city and then you go pretty far in one direction on the surface, and then eventually you start just going lower and lower down a dungeon after you've hit that final dungeon location. Let's see. See if we can get a general idea of what these characters look like. Seems like they've gone a little extreme, just assuming nobody would be able to zoom in and notice, and that we have what looks like a hair-covered Lady Godiva style character, female character, with no top.
Do you need something?
Okay. So, +4 physical damage. Can we equip this? This is an enchantment tag. Pet tags can only be worn by pets. So this is a pet thing, so we would need to move things around that way. Start with the broadsword, 34 damage per second, instead of this, which is 27 damage per second, but it has a 90% interrupt chance, where this does not. It's an attack speed of 1.8, where this is slower. It's 34 damage versus 31. Healthy tunic, probably better. 3 armor plus 14 health. 3 armor plus 14 health. But this is enchanted. 77 damage. We should stick to this. And this would give a armor plus 8 fire armor, which I guess I can't do yet. Okay. We have 2 loadouts here for weapons, but everything else not so much. She's selling potions, and probably at a decent price. Could go blast fishing. Yields less total fish per fishing hole than traditional methods. A waypoint portal scroll. Maybe make some sense. Some identifying scrolls. Extra might be helpful. But honestly, I probably shouldn't be buying anything. It's very possible that only one of these animal tags can be used on a pet, so I should check that first. Okay, you can have a collar, and you can have a pet tag. You can have 2 pet tags and that collar. Okay. Good to know. Now we have also a unidentified weapon. Requires level 7. It would be kind of nice if you could put your items in here and have the items transfer from Torchlight 1. I'm also remembering that I called Torchlight 1 Torchwood very often, and I'm probably going to make that same mistake again. Yeah, just keeping this to require a certain level of strength. Actually, we might be able to get to that. I guess the question is it better to do this one at 77 damage and this one poison damage. This one's much slower. You may find that it's very valuable to just sell things quickly. Let's see. Target dummy. Probably not giving you any skills. Just a place where you can try out your attacks.
How may I help you?
And it's almost certainly too early to be spending money on any of this. Almost certainly, it's almost always the case in these games that the items you get as drops are just going to be way better than trying to purchase things. So we have these kinds of soldier characters, and then we have topless guy characters, and then we have different shirted, different clothed characters.
Did you need something?
This guy, I guess, would remove skill points and let you reset. That is nice.
Did you need something?
You can only reclaim the last 3 skills you have invested in. Having a heal bot may never actually work because I'd have to put it down here as a hotkey. So that is something to keep in mind, is that if I am going to try and mostly play this game by... Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot this game also had fishing as a feature. I'm going to mostly try to play this game by using the mouse. The active keyboard shortcuts. Not sure I fully understand the move here. It does seem to me like blast fishing as a new feature in Torchlight 2 is there for a very good reason for people who found the fishing holes in previous points in the first game kind of boring. Although you could pretty well ignore all of them in the first game too.
You just get here?
If you're going to the temple steepies, I could use your help. The Stubborn have set up a makeshift smithy there, and they have 2 blacksmiths making suits of armor for the wild war beast they've captured. Those Stubborn seem to be working from schematics, but they keep them under lock and key. Do you think you might be able to get there and grab the armor schematics? Yes.
You have received a quest.
Side quest.
What's your business here?
I think the idea here would be to talk to use the portal, but maybe not.
May I assist you?
So, you know, these are
Welcome,
named
friend.
characters,
Do you need something?
so
I am
at
at
some
your
point
service.
they're going to play a role. Although these are named characters too, so it may just be that every single character in this area has a name.
You a new recruit?
So they're giving us multiple directions to go. I think you mostly just sold fish in the game after fishing, and
What's your business here?
maybe you occasionally fed them to the dog. Alright. Well, we have hit a point where now would be a good time to end these episodes. Right click would feed the fish to the dog, turning him into a jackal instead of a dog for 5 minutes, which I don't think actually makes him stronger or better. It just makes him different. I think you can also sell them. But, any game that introduces fishing tends to overestimate how much people are going to enjoy that. I guess this is your pause menu. Also, your save menu if you want to save. I assume the game probably auto-saves when you load into new areas anyways. So the big question certainly to ask here is, how long is this game really going to be once we start getting into the weeds of it? I don't think it's going to be that long, because I can definitely tell that playing it on easy, I've been given a significant level of advantage that might very well just stay around all the way towards the credits and the last gameplay that I do in this game. Getting one-hit kills just to start is kind of extreme, and I would assume if you're playing it on the hardest mode, in the hardcore mode, you would have to have done 4 or 5 different attacks. One of the things about Torchlight 1 I'm now remembering is that if you wanted to play as a female character, you had to play as the gunner class character. There was 2 classes that were only male and 1 class that was only female, making those original 3 heroes perhaps slightly more iconic, but not really that much, because I couldn't tell you what their names were, if they even had names. They may very well have had just descriptions of their class, and they certainly didn't say anything or do anything special. Alright, so yeah, we're gonna just assume and hope that this doesn't turn into 200-hour game, but it very possibly will be 60 hours. We shall see. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. Thanks.